FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
There seems to be a resurgence in atheism with Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins writing best-selling books, among many others. What do you think that your two protagonists in your book, Lincoln and Darwin, would have thought about this resurgence in interest in atheism in this country?
Well, it's very interesting. Lincoln, and most Americans are not taught this, began as an atheist, a free thinker. And there's no question about it. It was well known in the Illinois of his time that that's what he was. And he clearly had spoken out strongly in sort of village debates against belief in God. And we know that he was very impressed by a book that was influential on Darwin too, called Vestiges of Creation, which was an early attempt to drain the story of life from its theological basis. And yet in the course of his life, Lincoln eventually ended up with a strange personal belief in providence and fate, and perhaps even in God. Darwin, on the other hand, was raised to be a clergyman. That was one of the things his very frustrated father wanted him to be. His father thought, well, maybe he can be a clergyman, maybe he can be a doctor. He didn't succeed at any of them. And so he began in faith, and the wife, who he loved passionately, Emma, remained a woman of enormous Christian faith, intense Christian faith, her whole life. And yet Darwin, by the end of his life, was clearly and outspokenly an atheist. So you have these two very different trajectories that cross. I think that it's funny you mentioned, I just read Dawkins' book for the first time today. I bought it this morning. And I think that the thing that I think people rightly find, I don't want to say distasteful, they find a little off-putting in Dawkins, is that there's an element of Philistinism in it. He sort of just writes out the whole history of religious art and religious music, of religious poetry, as though that's all kind of silly stuff that no grown-up should take seriously. And the real problem, I think, and again the problem I'm trying to deal with in this book, is that anybody who has any sensibility at all, any soul at all, knows that life without Chartres Cathedral and The Messiah by Handel and George Herbert's religious poetry would be a terribly impoverished life. So the real question is how can you recuperate those values and that sensibility within a framework of history that you believe to be true?